Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel. Today we're going to be looking at the Citroen GSA. So the Citroen GSA was really kind of like the Mark II version of the Citroen GS. We have looked at a Citroen GS brochure previously, so if you want to see that, I'll put a little bit of a link at the end of this video. The GS ran from 1970 to 1979. The GSA took up the mantle from 1980 to 1989. They were both obviously front engine, front wheel drive cars with a nice coefficient, smooth, slippery shape, which really helped fuel economy. The main difference with the GSA though was the introduction of a hatchback. Yes, it went from a fastback saloon to a hatchback, which was the popular thing in Europe, to now have small family cars with hatchbacks and small cars, particularly with the rise of such cars as the Volkswagen Golf. So this particular brochure is a very early one, printed actually in 1979 for the 1980 first year model year, and it's for the UK market. So let's have a look at this brochure now. So we go, this is the early UK brochure. Like I say, it's actually dated December 79 for the first year they came out, 1980. So what were the changes between the old GS to now this updated GSA? Well, there were lots of little things really. A revised grille, these nice plastic bumpers they've got now, tail lights were revised, different hubcaps, different exterior door handles, etc, etc. So lots of little small changes amounting to overall a large change. The most noticeable difference was this hatchback. Obviously it's showing that it's a hatchback on the front of the brochure to say, hooray, we've now got a hatchback, which, like I say, at the time hatchbacks were all the thing, so certainly a big selling point for this GSA. Still got that nice hydro pneumatic suspension, so a lovely smooth ride, and like I said before, a very coefficient shape that Citroens were becoming known for after such cars as the Citroen CX. There are also revisions inside the car, but one of the interesting things with this particular brochure is, and you often see this in very early brochures, we'll come to a very interesting thing that kind of like changed in the next year. So we'll come to that in a moment though. So we'll just open this brochure up. The first side shows a side view of the GSA. This one, in particular one in red, showing that very slippery shape and that half covered rear wheel for aerodynamics. And then on the other side, it shows some text about the GSA. So let's just have a quick zoom in on that and have a look at that, and then we'll move on to the brochure itself. So here we're talking about high speed, high acceleration, excellent value for money cars with astonishing economy of fuel consumption are the mark of the new GSA range introduced by Citroen, with all the aerodynamic elegance, safety and comfort for which the company is famous. A new and very flexible 1300cc engine developed from the proven and virtually indestructible unit fitted to GS models gives significant better acceleration from lower speeds. This is due primarily to a 13% increase in maximum torque. Maximum power is also up and produced at lower revs, so giving longer engine life and faster acceleration at high speeds. The result is a car that can top 100 miles per hour. But more importantly, one which has the power and nimbleness to get the driver out of awkward situations. Official government figures show the fuel consumption has been cut by 20% in stop-start town driving. A fifth gear fitted as standard in the saloon models gives cheaper, quieter top speed and a racier performance on the way up. The GSA is long and strong, roomy and relaxing. A sheaf of Citroen innovations inside and outside, including shock-absorbing elastic bumpers which spring back into shape after light impacts, and ground-hugging aerodynamic skirts for top performance and security. So it then starts talking about the different models. So we've got the Club, which is the lower end of the range, and then the next model up, and the only other model up, the Palace, the top of the range with all the bells and whistles. This particular Club is showing some of the features. These kind of like very standard looking, but I'm sure very comfortable brown seats, a nice 5-speed gearbox, and of course the main selling point of the GSA over the GS, this hatchback. So showing you're putting your luggage in there, you've got this sort of cover over it, and then more importantly you can fold the seats down to increase your luggage. The great thing of course about the GSA is that hydro pneumatic suspension, which would level out the load as well. If we look at the main picture showing this red GSA, again the GSA Club, it's showing this hatchback design, but if you notice, a rather high lip. Early hatchbacks often did this more for strength than anything, but it does mean you have to reach down and pull your baggage and your luggage much higher than you would do in a modern hatchback. But again, a very attractive design. As we move on, it gives another lovely shot of the front of the GSA Club. As I say, a very elegant design. I think that lovely slippery design, it is one of my favourite designs. Very coefficient, but more than that, it just looks very attractive. It does show some more features, these impact absorbing new bumpers, the black mirrors, and it's also showing a bit of an aerial at an angle on there on the roof. As we move on further though, it then starts talking about the estate. It's just really referring to this as the GSA estate. This is a Club version. I don't know at this stage if you could actually get a Palace or the Club was the only model. Maybe you might know that. If you do, give me a shout out. But like I say, it's only showing the Club in here, and it's only referring to it as the GSA estate. The estate having a rear wiper. If you notice, the hatchback doesn't show a wiper on there at all, but I am told this nice slippery shape meant that you didn't really have to worry too much about wiping that rear screen. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know it was on the CX because that had a concave rear window. This is kind of like a more flat design, but apparently aerodynamically it would still keep it clean. The GSA estate of course is a much flatter design, so it did need that rear wiper. Particularly like it in this sort of very striking yellow. I do think it looks particularly attractive in that colour, particularly if you've got blue seats, although in this case they are brown seats on this particular model. Again, showing that very useful area, and the difference is it's a very low loading area on the estate. And another sort of side view of that. Still a very attractive design, possibly not quite as attractive as the hatchback, but still a very striking, attractive design. I always think it's amusing the type of things that they used to put in the back of cars and estate cars to show how well it carries, and particularly in this case it's telling you it can load right to the sill there. But what an unusual collection of objects, a very old telephone, etc, etc. I'm sure nobody in whoever bought a GSA loaded it up like that. We then move on to the car that you really wanted, the GSA Palace, the top of the range, these sort of unique wheel trims, a kind of like a unique interior as well that we'll have a look at. It does feature this rather beautiful seats, again, look really comfortable. This sort of interesting headrest design that's unusually how you can adjust that on there. And then we come to one of the unique features of this first year GSA model only. Like I said, this is only the first year in the UK. Let's just have a quick zoom in on that interior, because it's not what you expect it to be. Yes, as I zoom in on these controls, we can see it's got very regular speedos and rev counters. No fingertip controls, rather regular strokes. Yes, for this first year only for the GSA, we've got conventional controls, a bit of a carryover from the GSA UK market. They kind of thought the UK was a very conservative country. They wouldn't take to these fancy controls, so we've still got these very regular ones. If I do show you another brochure though, remember this is a December 1979 brochure. If I show you the exact 1 year later, December 1980, and I just bring in this particular brochure, we can see we've got the controls that we would more likely expect to be on a GSA. These sort of fingertip controls, this sort of like a drum, a weighing scale type speedometer, and this very fancy display showing like a faults on the car. This is kind of like the controls we expect to see. Not the controls that we're actually getting for the first year only. I imagine they'd be quite rare to have a GSA with these particular controls, although I must admit, if I wanted a GSA, I would want the fingertip controls and the wacky drum rolling speedos, to be honest with you. But even so, this must be quite a rare one now. It folds out to show the seats on the GSA Palace. Yeah, like I said, this is the model you really wanted, wasn't it? These lovely blue seats look extremely comfortable. These very nice door cards, all colour coordinating. If I wanted a GSA, I would definitely want the Palace. It looks like it's very nice. No leather, although personally I'm not a huge fan of leather seats. I would much prefer this layout. The brochure then goes on to show a nifty little graphic of that hydro pneumatic suspension, ironing out the lumps and bumps. And this nice little graphic of the empty car and the car full of passengers and luggage, self-leveling and lifting the car up to even out that. There was also a little lever inside the car which you could lower, raise and lower the suspension. Another unique feature of the GSA was apparently you could take one of the wheels off and it could still drive on three wheels. The suspension would level that out as you drive around. I'm not sure how many people actually use that feature. Presumably you had a puncture, you looked in the back, oh no, I don't have a spare, I'm just going to drive home on three wheels. I'm not sure that ever happened, but it was possible. A quick look at this 1300 engine, and then it goes on to show a sort of picture of this sort of safety, this safety cell feature and this lovely aerodynamic design. One of my favourite particular images in this brochure is this, a look at Citroen UK. All in sort of a yellow livery, all Ford vans. There's very early transits in there, and a lineup of Citroen CXs, presumably about to go to their dealerships. But a particularly nice image. I do like them all in yellow like that. It's really striking, isn't it? It's a very striking image. It's a shame they're not all Citroen vans, but nevertheless, in that sort of yellow livery, it's very striking. Being all Fords, it's a very iconic UK image, really, isn't it? I do particularly like that image. I almost want it on the wall. It's such an amazing image. It goes on to show a little bit of the workings that go on, and a nice aerial shot where it's talking about quality control. It then starts showing us the specifications. So let's have a quick zoom in on that. So there we go, technical specifications at 1299cc on all models, 4-cylinder air-cooled unit, 12 volts of course. Interesting though, when it talks about the transmission, it's front-wheel drive of course. Like I said, that nice 5-speed all synchromesh gearbox, which is a much nicer for cruising on the motorway. Interesting, the letdown is 4-speed on the Estates. I wonder why they only had a 4-speed on the Estates. Was it a run over from the GS, I would expect, but certainly that would certainly put you off getting the Estate model, just having that 4-speed. Of course it's a synchromesh on all gears. Rack and pinion steering of course, etc, etc. Continues with the technical specifications, the fuel tank, they're very similar for each different model, as you can see. Twin choke carburetor, etc, etc. Trying to have a look for that 4-speed gearbox to see if it's altered any of the specs, but it doesn't seem to show that difference at all on the Estate. If we move on, more technical details. This is more talking about your trailer weight, your top speed. It's showing the one with the manual gearbox, of course, is a top speed 100 miles an hour. Your C-Matic is 93 miles per hour. Your Estate is 96 miles per hour top speed. And then it kind of like shows these nice little images of the different graphics with the tailgate up, etc. And then your Estate. So there we go, the Citroen GSA, one of my favourite cars. I do like French cars after all, but I do particularly like the GSA. I wouldn't say it was a particularly well built car. I wouldn't say it was a particularly strong car. I had a BX, it always felt a little bit fragile. I think this was kind of like a similar sort of thing, and of course there isn't that many left on UK roads, but nevertheless an important historical vehicle for Citroen. Thank you so much for watching Course Light today. There'll be many more car brochure videos coming very soon, so please do like and subscribe. It's all free, and we'll see you very soon. Take care and goodbye.